Yes, it's the first time I officially attend the meetings. My name is Elena. Yes, I'm Romanian, and I represent the Romanian Advisory Center in Southampton. It's a non-profit organization related to the Romanian community. Yes, we are trying to help people, expats who are coming in UK, especially in Southampton, to better integrate in our lovely city.
You're very welcome, and I hope you find something useful from today. And
definitely. Thank you for having me.
If you're not sure of our jargon or what's going on, please ask. That's not a problem at all.
Thank you. I will.
Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda. I'm one of the restorative justice officers from Southampton Youth Offending Service.
And welcome again, your first time. So I hope you find it useful today. Tori.
Hi everybody. Yep, my name's Tori and I'm the Communications and Engagement Coordinator for Victim Care Service, which covers all of Hampshire and Isle of Wight.
Thank you. Good to see you. Zoe.
I'm Zoe. I am the Project Manager for Breakout Youth, an LGBTQ+ youth group in Southampton for 11 to 25-year-olds.
Good to see you, Zoe.
Hi.
Hi. And Janet next from Solent.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janet. I'm from Solent University. I work in student experience. We're a third-party reporting centre, and we're trying to raise awareness of reporting hate crime.
Good to have you with us. Jason.
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Murphy. I'm the Stronger Communities Manager, so reporting to Councillor Shields there on a range of issues, which includes community engagement, but more specifically hate crime. So here is a resource for this network as you see fit to use me. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today, Jason. Malky. You've still got your microphone muted, Malky.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Malkeet Singh, and I'm a Community Engagement Officer for Southampton City Council. I'm part of Jason Murphy's team.
Good to see you, Malkeet. And Maximilian.
Hi, I'm Maximilian. I work with a charity called Chrysalis, supporting trans individuals. I'm the member support coordinator there.
Good to see you. Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Beebe. I work for PBS4. We support people with learning disabilities, and we're a third-party hate crime reporting centre.
Fantastic. And is Adele joining us today?
Yeah, she informed me actually this week that she thought she won't be able to make it. But yeah, so she sends her apologies. Hopefully she'll be able to make the next meeting.
No problem. And Saab, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Sarah Berg. I'm the Diversity and Inclusion Lead for Southern Health NHS.
Thank you. Welcome. And last but not least, I've got Sally.
Hello, I'm Community Engagement Officer from the Stronger Communities team, so Jason's team also. I've recently been appointed to head up the COVID Community Champions Network.
Fantastic. Okay, so what we'll do in terms of when people need to say anything or ask a question for the start, I think we'll just have a fairly easygoing thing. If it gets confusing, then I'll ask people to raise their hand or indicate some other way that they wish to speak. But I'm happy for the time being if people just speak up when they need to ask a question. And we've had apologies from Vincent Hannay at the City Centre Catholic Parish and Johnny Branson from the Prince's Trust. So we've received those two apologies. Do we have apologies from anybody else?
Yeah, in addition to those, yeah, this week I've been informed about, I think Erin Churchill, also from the Prince's Trust, couldn't make it, and Carol Bowers from Go Southampton, and Jack Lucas from the UK Shaolin Temple. But yeah, so they're the apologies I've received.
Okay, so welcome to you all. I hope we enjoy today's meeting. The first proper item on the agenda is some feedback from the last meeting. Sam, can you briefly go through the action points if they need?
Yeah.
And if they don't, we can just breeze through them.
Absolutely. Right. So yeah, the action points. I will try and go through this fairly quickly, as obviously there's other things to discuss today. But yeah, first thing from the action points, there was the statistic, hate crime statistics for reported incidents in Southampton, an update, and following that, there was actions from Ahmed Sesso from Hampshire Police to send us the data, and that was done. So you should have had, everyone should have had access to those. And then another action point from Ahmed Sesso of Hampshire Police was to email an overview of the work done by Southampton-based organisations to support Chinese people affected by hate crimes. And again, that should have been sent to you all. And then when we spoke about the Black Lives Matter movement, there was discussions with Dave and Jason from Southampton City Council about some of the work that was being done in that area, and I believe we can touch a little bit on that later in the meeting, but there has been some progress. And then another action point was for me to make all posters, when hate crime posters that we've been developing, ready for accessible for the network. And again, that's something I'll go into later in the meeting. Another point was Tori from Victim Support was going to send me contact details for colleagues, her colleagues involved working with young people for the work that we're doing on young people, and that was again provided to me. And that's the main. One more. Carol Bowers from the Southampton Business Crime Partnership can't make it today, who's helping us work on targeting the retail community. She was going to send me some information to support with that, and that's also been done. But yeah, there weren't too many action points from the last meetings. I think that's the main ones there.
That's great. Thank you, Sam. We've had a new joiner to the meeting during the action points. Sorry, I don't know who you are. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm having a few technical problems. I'm Andy Wood. I'm from Southampton City Council Housing Department.
Hi, good to see you, Andy.
Okay.
And we want to introduce everybody else, but if there is any confusion while others speaking, please ask them who, if it's not clear who they are, feel free to ask at that time. Okay, Ahmed sends his apologies to this afternoon. He's got an urgent medical appointment, but we have got his, I think Sam's got his statistics, or whatever we have from Ranjiv. So Sam, I guess we'll send these out after the meeting, but do you want to summarise them now? You can put them on the screen if you want to.
Yeah, that's fine. I was going to do a screen share of them, but I think what the format I've been sending them in, it might be quite difficult for people to actually read them. So what I think might be best is if I just go through the main headlines of the statistics, and then I'll obviously provide those to everyone following today's meeting, and then we can ask any questions if you want any more specific data, but have only just been sent them the last hour or so. So I'll just go through the brief sort of headlines of those, and then they'll be sent out after the meeting. So yeah, going through from what I can see here, we had in the different areas of Southampton, the hate crimes that we've seen. So we've got compared with, this is data for 1st of January 2020 to the 31st of August 2020, and that's compared with the same period. So 1st of August 1st of January 2019 to the 31st of August 2019. So it's compared with that period, 2019 and 2020. So yeah, the Southampton central area, there were 200 hate crimes reported, and then for 2019, then for 2020 in Southampton Central there were 211 hate crimes reported, and then in the Southampton East section there were 79 hate crimes reported in 2019, and then I believe it's 86 hate crimes to Southampton East in 2020, and then Southampton North saw 86 hate crimes reported in 2019, and then 118 reported in 2020. Southampton West, there were 158 hate crimes reported in 2019, and 196 hate crimes reported for Southampton West in 2020. That's a total of 523 hate crimes reported in those areas for 2019, and then 613 hate crimes reported for those areas in 2020. And I would break those down by the strands, but 5 hate crime strands, but given the amount of data we've got, I think that could take quite a long time. So I think it would be better for each sort of individual member to look at that data following the meeting, and then any questions can be asked about the specifics of those. If anybody wants anything repeated from those statistics, do let me know now, and I can do that. But no, okay.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
Ian?
Sorry.
Sorry, just to check the figures there, that there's 619 reported hate crime incidents to the end of August 2020, which compares to 523 in the corresponding period the previous year. Is that right?
Yes, the 523 refers to 1st of January 2019 to 31st of August 2019, and then the 613 refers to that same period for 2020.
And previously, when I've looked at these things, a significant proportion of those related to race, and although that's tended to remain static and increases in some of the other smaller categories, is that pattern being maintained? As I just wondered, I'd had hoped, to be honest, that with lockdown that there would have been less people going around spreading hate, but that's not the case. So, and I know there are some hate crimes that we will associate with the conditions we've got. I know we had at the beginning of the year Chinese communities being targeted, and that was responded to by people through this network. But I'm also worrying whether with the students about to return, whether that's going to increase. I'm just trying to get behind some of those figures a little bit, and I just wondered if there's any clues that you could share with us.
Well, I think from my point of view, obviously there has been, various things happening, that issues, that can affect the cohesion, community cohesion, and things like COVID-19 and the Black Lives Matter movement. Those sorts of things could have created divisions, which has led to more hate crimes, unfortunately, being committed. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint the exact reasons as to why, but that could be part of it. And I know race has seen a lot of hate crimes, particularly. So those issues may have had an impact on that, but yeah, it's hard to say really. Sorry, Ian, I think your mic is muted.
breaking their own rules here. I think part of the problem is we have pretty broad area of time and pretty rough statistics. I can't see them on paper either, which doesn't help. It'd be much better if we could somehow get from the police kind of regular quarterly reports that kind of always related to a quarter, and then we'd be able to see whether the COVID period in case from late March onwards actually had any effect, positive or negatively, on hate crime. It's it's from January to August is a very broad area, isn't it? So I don't know whether we can feed back whether it's possible in future to have kind of regular, let's say, quarterly reports that are kind of consistent. From then we can start to see the trends as they move on.
No, I agree. That's that's definitely something that we want to have more data that's relevant and up to date. So I think we'll have conversations with the police and those supplying data to try and ensure that happens. So we can answer more of those questions about increases and things.
Okay. Any other questions or issues? Sam, have you got some more data on the?
The only thing I was going to mention was, as I usually do in the meetings now, is give an update on how our the Love Don't Hate smartphone hate crime reporting app has been performing in recent months. Now we have seen quite good numbers of reports through those, albeit that there's definitely, with more developments that we are doing with the app, I think those can be eventually increased. But in June 2020 we saw 17 reports of hate crime, and then in July 2020 we saw 8 reports of hate crime. So that clearly shows that people are using the app to report incidents, which is obviously what we want. But with those figures, it shows there's definitely room to get more people using that app, and we hope with the developments that we're making to make the app more effective and easier for people to use and easier to get hold of data as well. That will help with seeing further levels of reporting through the app. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the data for August 2020 supplied to me, so I have to be at the next meeting. I don't know if anyone has any questions about those statistics particularly. No?
Okay.
Dave.
No, sorry. Is it Andy, isn't it? I think your microphone is still muted.
Either one. With the stats you shared, are those public figures? I'm just asking because we're hoping to do something in our Tenants magazine about hate crime next month. I was just wondering, are we able to share those figures, or are they not to be shared?
What you mean? Sorry, you mean the for the app you're talking about?
The figures for the hate crime figures this year compared to last year, for example, that you gave a moment ago.
I mean, we obviously want those to be seen by members and things. So we always upload the data to our Google Drive page. They're always there's always a section on there where you can access the latest figures. So,
Okay, so it's okay to share them wider with the general public.
I think that's
in public domain.
Yeah,
brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, have we finished statistics?
That's it for that section.
Okay, well, let's move on to section 5 on the agenda. So, and I think this is a more of a round robin a commentary on the experiences members have had in particular in relation to COVID-19 and the Black Lives Matter movement in terms of the impact on hate crime. I don't know if anybody wants to kick the ball off as to whether you've seen any particular issues or any themes evolving that we may need to think about and react to.
Can I just come in? I think Jason was trying to catch someone's attention earlier. Not sure how it works on this device compared to the other ones that we use, where you've got a hand that you can wave. But I know that over the summer, Jason and I and others have had quite a lot of conversations around that. And I just wondered, and just to reassure others about the hate crime statistics, at some point during this year, we will have to do an annual report on the Safe City Strategic Assessment, where we'll report the figures for the year. So they will be very much in the public domain, and hopefully with some analysis. But I can't tell you exactly when that's likely to be. But I don't know, Jason, did you want to sort of like jump in here with just where some of the work we've been doing?
It was an action from the last point about the stats. So we can raise at the Safe City Partnership this week a request for regular police reporting on the data. I think that's important that we do that for you, so we can do that this week. In terms of Black Lives Matter, it's a mixed bag because there are different views about who represents that issue in the city. But also you then get into the equalities debate about when is this to the exclusion or inclusion of all others. Interestingly, we've had a forum with young people that wasn't particularly well attended, and the young people are telling us it's because they're not wanting to engage with us on Zoom. They want to meet us. But nevertheless, what we had was quite insightful and very much rooted in their sense of the city, their feelings about education, not really addressing issues of discrimination, hate crime, that people's cultural history isn't taught. A lot of feedback from this group, that group of young people, but other groups that we, and by we, I mean people that look like me, need to get over ourselves and stop worrying about having the conversation and just get on and do it. So, interestingly, our colleagues in Solent NHS are looking at developing some hate crime employer, so standards that can be applied for anyone that works for them as an employer, but also their duties in terms of reporting hate crime. So I'm going to work with them, a guy called Leon Herbert. I'm going to work with them to see whether or not that's something we as an employer could partner with them on, and that perhaps others could too. I say that because having met with Don John, who some of you may know, one of the really interesting points he made was he would expect professionals working with clients and vulnerable people would observe a lot of hate crime to then have to report it. So that was just an interesting perspective I hadn't considered. And I don't think professionals in the main would think that they need to do that, but perhaps we should think about that. Yeah. The other point really is just about structural inequalities and data that we have. So this probably applies to all sorts of groups with protected characteristics. Our analysis of the data isn't as strong as we'd like it to be, so we need to work harder on that. And then the final point I'll make, and then I'll stop talking, is just around Prevent. So Prevent as a scheme in tackling radicalisation is perceived to be about targeting Muslim communities. So we've got a lot of work to do to kind of overcome that perception, engage with and talk about that process. But we also need to work hard to help professionals understand that in Southampton, the risks are very different to what perceptions of Prevent might be. So there's a lot of concerns about right-wing extremist behaviour that can manifest as hate crime, but also can become violence in its worst form. So lots to say. Just because I can see Saab on the group, we've also set up a project team of community engagement officers where we're thinking about the needs of the Black and Asian minority ethnic community in particular, but not to the exclusion of all vulnerable people, because within the context of COVID, we know that there are worries that we're not really reaching those groups through our communications or engagement. So a slight left field example, but another example of a program we're trying to do. But we're all starting from a relatively low base, and we've got a lot to figure out.
Thank you, Jason. And but I think the 2 points. I think one of the themes throughout these network meetings over the last 2 or 3 years has been the desire to have better statistics, more consistent statistics. So anything we can do to try and pull good examples of different organisations trying to bring some narrative, some sense to what's going on out there would be I think welcome. I'm sure Sam would be happy to work to try and see whether we can produce statistics not just from the police or our hate crime app, but from any source that will help us to have an insight on what's going on out there. So certainly I would do that. And incidentally, sorry if I didn't notice you were doing so. Either be very gregarious if you want to speak, or there is on Zoom there is a reactions thing on the little taskbar at the bottom, and then I'll just do it online. There is a little hand symbol that you can. It does stay up for a few seconds. Even I might notice that that's happening. So, but there's no substitute for butting in if all else fails. So feel free to do that. Hi, Jason.
If I may butt in, it's just to flag really, if you forgive the pun. But we need to start thinking about Brexit and the impact of Brexit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the feedback we're getting is Brexit, and it's not about what your view is of Brexit, but that Brexit seems to have given people who are inclined to express hate permission to do so, and that manifests at best in political download and spurious comments about different groups to actual hate crime that people experience. So it's just something to be mindful of, because in December that's happening.
Yeah. And Sam, have we been doing any thinking or work, or aware of any work that's going on around the Brexit? Obviously, it's been sleeping a little bit of late, but it's certainly, as Jason says, going to be across all of our bows from now until.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
as a real, obviously point out that the Brexit sort of movement, or whatever you want to call it, is something that can see more, may encourage more hate crime. So yeah, that's definitely something we're going to have to sort of address and think about what we can do during that period. Obviously there's National Hate Crime Week that's coming up in October, so that will be which we'll discuss more in the meeting later. That'll be at the time when to focus on first in terms of the awareness that we're raising, but then certainly Brexit will come into our thoughts after that, definitely.
Okay, well, I'll add when we get down to the Hate Crime Awareness Week, I'll make sure we refer to Brexit. That I agree that may well be something we can bring some focus to during that week. Any other experiences or observations around the impact of Black Lives Matter or COVID-19 for anybody else?
Yeah, can I just say something about Brexit? Going back 3 years, when we were leaving the EU, as a result of the increase in hate crime, this network was beginning to come together, and that's, I think, when we set this network up as a way of being able to support people to be able to access where they could go for information and advice in order to be able to talk about sort of their experience around Brexit. So it's interesting in a couple of months' time, as we kind of leave the EU, that might be a time when we kind of need to be a bit more sort of vigilant around sort of hate crime and try and support people more, because I think that's when we saw an increase when we decided to leave the EU 3 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, we will talk about it a bit later on, but maybe we can think about producing some specific materials that will hopefully help to make people think before they commit hate crimes over that process and period. So we'll come back to that. Yeah, so has anybody, I mean, Dave said at the outset that, we might expect the impact of lockdown to result in less hate crime, and certainly the stats don't give us much confidence about that. Has anybody seen any positive or negative consequences of the virus in respect to hate crime at all?
I know that our members have been reporting quite a bit of it recently. If you bear with me a sec, I think it was 70-something% had said that they'd at least had sort of comments and things on the streets. In terms of people just for whatever reason being more vocal about it. The general bit that we're finding is that people are saying that where there are fewer people around to witness it, what they're getting is that people feel more emboldened because there's no one there as an ally saying, hey, that wasn't okay to say. Can't find the stat now. It was quite a high number though, in terms of our internal survey that we did. Oh, here we go. 71%. And 77% of that was from strangers in the street whilst out shopping or exercising.
Yeah, that's the kind of information we're looking to try and observe and maybe respond to by the way of our social media and the like to try and combat. Is that something you'd be able to share with Sam so we can bring that to a wider audience?
Yeah, I'll get the person who's compiling all the stats to send it over.
Thank you. And Sam will talk to you as to whether if it's appropriate we can start using it for general comms as well. So he'll discuss that with you. Dave, speak to your comment just now.
It's an interesting observation that as there are fewer people on the streets, those that are there might become more vulnerable. And I hadn't anticipated for the groups that you represent, Maximilian, but certainly it's become obvious to me when I was doing my daily exercise how certain very vulnerable groups, homeless, drug users, were much more evident by their presence and possibly were more likely to get picked up by the police because of that, but also perhaps could have become an easier target for roving gangs of youth on mopeds and stuff like that. So for some of those communities that you represent, that might have been even more challenging. And it's just a hunch that I've got rather than the evidence. But so that the stats that you've been picking up are interesting and worth reflecting on.
Well, part of what I do is around facilitating group space. So it's one of the spaces that people bring this stuff to. And one of the comments that someone said that I thought was quite interesting from that perspective was that she said that the people who were still out were the people who didn't give a bleep about the lockdown, and that those seem to be the more sort of, shall we say, more right-wing, less tolerant, less open and accepting people some of the time. So yeah.
I think, sorry, just to mention while we're talking about this, I was going to mention it a bit later on, but I think now might be a good time to do it. Obviously, that we had got those statistics and comments there from Maximilian, which would be useful to look into. But I don't know whether there's a question for Maximilian and other groups. I don't know whether there are, for the hate crimes that they've been noticing and comments that they've had, have there been any people that have come forward about those? Because what I'm eager to sort of find from the network is more sort of case study material that we can present about victims, and we can give that, and then that will help us with going to the media and getting messages out there, and it's could particularly be useful with Hate Crime Week coming up. But obviously that's only just round the corner, but any time it's useful to have that case study material. So yeah, as well as the data and things, maybe that's something that we as a network can have a think about. Obviously, so I know there's lots of people who come to you about different issues related to hate crime.
Certainly, I guess I know one of the issues we've had is across the board is more examples of what's going on, and case studies. So the more the merrier if you are able to share any of that. Tori, so I'm just picking up those 3 comments. So Jason said there's an issue, I think, for people with respiratory conditions or hidden disabilities expecting abuses in some place, and certainly we are picking up a little bit of that spectrum, particularly for our navigator service. Jonathan is saying, I've heard reports of that too, with social policing, and I think that's an issue. I don't know, Jonathan, whether you want to speak more about that now?
I can't remember. Not had direct experience myself, but as Jason says, we've heard of people with autism who don't have to wear face masks in public places, have members of the public shouting abuse at them for not wearing a face mask and things like that. And some people need to see people's mouths to communicate, and there's good reasons why people don't have to wear face masks all the time, but the community are more interested in upholding the law themselves and policing it rather than being understanding.
Yeah. There's a case on the BBC website today of that, of exactly that comment, and both Tori and Maximilian have said that they'll look to see whether they can encourage people to to present their stories as case studies. So that's really good. We'll see how that develops. Any more comments? And otherwise we'll move on to section 6, which is around the training pack for retail and nighttime economies, which we're starting to work on before the lockdown. Is there any more comments on impact of COVID and Black Lives Matter before we move on? I'm not sensing any, so let's move on, Sam, to the retail training pack, nighttime economy.
Sure. So I just wanted to update everyone on the work that we are doing to connect with the retail and nighttime economy organisations within Southampton's. Obviously, some of you may be aware, a lot of hate crime. A lot of these organisations do experience hate crime either with their colleagues or customers or whatever. So we want to kind of help them to give support if they notice any hate crime within or nearby their premises. And that work has, despite the lockdown and obvious restrictions with COVID-19, it still has, we still have made some good progress on that. So I'm working with Go Southampton, who are the business improvement district for the city, and they've got lots of connections with retail organisations within Southampton. So I'm using their connections to reach out to those retail organisations and essentially provide them training so they can support victims of hate crime. And that training includes a package. The digital sort of document that outlines different ideas, it's got suggestions for what businesses can do to train their staff interacting, in engaging ways about hate crime. So, for example, through workshops where they do a number of different activities, and then there's also a presentation that retail organisations can give to their staff. So, any individual who notices hate crime can act upon it and help deal with it. And now that has kind of been developed, that package. It's currently being reviewed by the Southampton Business Crime Partnership, which is a part of the Go Southampton project that I'm working with to get the package being used by the relevant organisations. So they're reviewing it, and I just didn't think there'll be any issues with it. But when it's all been agreed, we can start to get that package ready for the different groups in those sectors to start actively using. And obviously, we're aware at the moment that with the other issues that retail as a whole sector is kind of dealing with, that then it's hate crime is something that's perhaps not as high on the agenda, but I think the organisations are still keen on they do experience hate crimes, they're obviously keen on using it, but it may take a little bit longer than we initially thought. The idea is that possibly during National Hate Crime Week in October, that might be the time that we kind of launch the package, so to speak, albeit it might not be actively used, but it will be ready to be used by organisations. Yeah, at that point. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. Don't know if there's any update or any questions that people have about those comments.
Sam, I don't know if it's at a state that we can share it with members for comments. It's difficult to comment on something we haven't seen, but is it at a, I realise it's being reviewed formally elsewhere, but is it able to be shared with the members?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking now, or you just mean generally? In,
after the, you know, as an email later on.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be good. So yeah, yeah, it may take a bit of time to get that reviewed anyway. So we'll, after this, after today, I can get that to everyone so you can have a look at it and then share your thoughts as we go along as well. Yeah, that's fine.
That's fantastic. Okay, carry on, Sam.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's probably it for the for the retail and nighttime economy section.
Okay, any questions or comments on that item before we move on to educating young people? I'm not seeing anything, and I don't like silences very well as a chair. I find them uncomfortable. So if you do, if I'm moving on too quickly, by all means stop me. But we will move on to item 7, which is educating young people about hate crime. Sam again.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, this is another chance to kind of update everyone on what the work that we're doing to educate young people. Yeah, specifically schools. On hate crime. Now, before going into that, I will say that there's been a package created for that. So can also send after this meeting that to everyone as well, so you can review that and add any comments to the work we're doing on that. But essentially, we've a number of groups within the network that specifically support young people. A few of them are here today. We've been working to kind of create a package that can be delivered by schools to their young people on hate crime, the significance of it, how to report it, and that kind of thing. And that's specifically aimed at different types of young people. So we've got an 8 to 12 age group and then a 12 plus age range, and so 2 separate sort of packages. And again, that's similar to the retail one in the sense that it's a presentation that can be delivered to the young people, but we also want to make sure the training is more interactive, which there are suggestions for how a workshop can be done, which may involve creating different hate crime materials, or you're doing like role play activities, and amongst lots of other different things. And the idea is that it has a broad range of suggestions for activities, so that different types of young people, depending on their age, abilities, learning styles, they'll all be able to benefit. Now, I mean, due to the COVID-19, that's also affected how quickly we've been able to move with that. But the package has been, created to a kind of finished product now, so that can be shown to all members, and for reviewing that. But essentially, we're just trying to contact schools now through various contacts. We've got contact through the council, the person that works. The young people coordinator, and they're trying to work with their contacts so we can get schools using the package. We realise that schools have a lot on their mind at the moment, so we're looking at perhaps January 2021 to get going on that. I mean, that's only provisional, but it'd be nice now that we've got something there to get it being used as soon as possible. And I'll look forward to kind of doing updating on that progress. And I think by next meeting we should have we'll have hopefully had a lot of communication with schools and things. I mean, we have got an existing contact with the School for Disabled People, Cedar School, in Southampton, who have helped, who have we've delivered a workshop to, and they've created hate crime posters. So that's been successful, and we'll probably look to continue the work with them, but we're also trying to involve wider variety of schools as well. So yeah, that's where we're at with that, and I'll send some information following the meeting. But yeah, I don't know if anybody has any questions following that.
Yeah, I looked at it. I thought it was really useful because I was looking at something aimed at a younger age group for our junior neighbourhood warden scheme, which is aimed at, I think it's 7 to 11, and the person who actually runs that for housing asked me whether I needed any materials available, so I've shared that with him. So hopefully we can make use of some of that, and some of the activities would be quite good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, be saying that as well. It will be all the materials that are generated from this will be available to to the network members as well. So so I know lots of you work with young people as well, so you'll be able to if there's projects like that happening, then yeah, everyone will be able to benefit, realise that it might, although the package itself may not be relevant for you, it might ignite ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, everything will be made available.
So I did something similar a few years back. We had a young man who was getting hate crime from a local school. The neighbours, the kids were passing his house and throwing abuse at him and throwing things at his door. And the police took action as a hate crime, but we decided we wanted to go to the school and to give them some learning disability awareness training as well. Okay. And it got in as part of their citizenship program, and it was really well received. And then they were asking for more training, and then other schools started asking us for training, and we just didn't have the resources to deliver the level of support that they were looking for. So is this pack something that the schools are going to deliver themselves, and is it something that's going to fit into their curriculums in some way?
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea that, schools will be able to deliver it themselves. I mean, there might have to be further conversations and communication in terms of how it can be applied. Obviously, they've got a curriculum, like schools will have curriculum, and things have to fit into that. So we're in the early stages of that, really. But essentially, it's the idea is that schools can do it themselves. We believe that's kind of more effective. So obviously, I and other members could go out and deliver training, but that's to schools, but obviously that's not as feasible. That takes a lot of time and planning to do that. So yeah, we kind of thought if there's something that schools can do themselves, or not necessarily apply the package completely, but they might there might be one or two activities that they can involve in certain sessions or presentations that they do. But yeah, it's just about providing schools with things that they can look at to give them ideas and essentially encourage them to deliver hate crime training. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, fantastic, thanks.
Okay.
Any other comments? I don't know, Sam, whether the next item is around Cedar School posters themselves. Are you planning to talk to that or show the prototypes that we've got?
Yeah, so the idea of what I was going to do for this section, as some of you will have seen in my might be aware, I did put a section in the latest newsletter. But yeah, we've yeah, that work with Cedar School that we've done has generated hate crime posters that they've created, and we've got them developed by students at a student at Southampton University, a graphic design student, put something together from those initial posters that we can now use in the community. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll share my screen, and then everyone will, yeah, you'll all be able to see these posters. Yeah. I'll just do that now. Yeah, so let me know, anyone, if this isn't shown, but you should all be able to see what I'm got on my screen. So yeah, these are four posters that we selected from the ones that were done by Cedar School pupils. So we've got the first one here. So it's basically got sort of clear messages about hate crime that young people can relate to. It was specifically young people at school for disabled people that created this poster. So some of the things that they might experience might relate to other young people. And we've obviously, we've got, we've got at the bottom an indication that it was made by individuals from educational institutions, so university and the Cedar School. And I think that's important to show that, we've actually had young people working together to come up with something to raise awareness of hate crime. And it's quite a significant development within the network, given we haven't really had anything created. Well, we haven't really had anything created by ourselves as a network, and also by young people. So it gives us something now that we can use within the community. This is another one. Unfortunately, it has come at a time now whereby it's difficult to obviously use posters with various places closed and your centres may be closed. So they are available now on the Google Drive page for the network, and which I'll show you how to access in a second. They're all accessible within there, so basically members can, your organisations can go there and download them. We can't really supply sort of the posters to each individual member, but certainly there are many websites that you can go on to print posters at a reasonable price, and then you'll be able to download these and use them in your centre when the time is right to do so. And this will help if you've got young people who enter your centre, but also for anyone, it gives clear messages about hate crime, which is important. And then, so that's the third one. And then, sorry, just bear with me. Sorry about that. This is the fourth one, and then basically the same kind of idea. Try to use the web bullying there to kind of.
That's the one we saw earlier, is it?
Yes, that's right. That's all of them now. So I'll now show you. I'm showing the posters. I'll show you where you can actually get hold of those, which are also on the screen share. I think I have to stop the share and then do it again, so be a second. Here it is. So I think I showed this last time in our meeting, the link to our Google Drive page, so I won't go into detail on that, but you should all now have the link in the emails I've been sending for this page with everything to do with the network. So if we go on the resources for HC network members section, and then we've got one here right at the top, posters, Cedar School and Southampton University. if you go on those, yeah, there's print ready versions. So these are for what you'd use if you wanted to get a poster printed through a website and then used in your centre. And these are all in A0 format, which means they're in a nice sort of large, large format. So, you know, if you put them in your entrance to your premises, for example, you know, they'll be easily accessible for people. So yeah, if you go on the print ready versions, then all of these, and they'll take you to what I showed you earlier, and yeah, you can upload them onto a website, which will onto professional websites that can print these posters for you. So that's those, and then yeah, you can also access standard JPEGs, so they're just images if you wanted to raise awareness on your social media pages or your website, or however you wanted to do it. You'd be able to upload those as well. So yeah, they're now all available to everyone, and hopefully yeah, eventually that they'll all we'll all be able to start making use of those. Obviously now isn't exactly the best time, but they're available now anyway. And yeah, the idea will be that we'll try and hopefully get those posters used in schools as well, particularly Cedar School, perhaps Southampton University as well, to try and spread those messages as widely as possible. But yeah, I don't know if anybody has any questions or feedback on the posters or anything they'd like to share.
David said it'd be good to find a way of using them, exhibiting them during Hate Crime Week, so I've added that to the list of things we'll talk about shortly.
Yeah.
And welcome to it, Abdui as well. You're welcome, and I'm glad you've been able to join us. So any observations, any suggestions around usage of these posters?
So Ian, I was going to make a suggestion. If they were sending the posters to the community centres within the city, because although they're not that active at the moment, but when they are, they have a lot of different communities coming through, and maybe they can perhaps relate to, through the poster, relate to issues, and they would know where to perhaps go to talk to someone about that.
I think, Malky, we could certainly do that. Is there an easy way of obtaining a list of where all the different?
Yeah, I can send you the link to all the community centres within the city, and then perhaps Sam can just share some of that with them.
That'd be really good. And
yeah.
And Janet said she's like them when you can get some printed ready for students when they go back to the campus. So that's good.
Oh, fantastic, yeah.
So thank you, Janet, for that. Tori, could you please share those links with me too, Malkeet? So could you share, if Malkeet shared them to Sam, and Sam will share them out to the whole network. Any other comments before we move on to National Hate Crime Awareness Week?
Do the places of worship have these posters, or is that an area we need to perhaps sort of encourage them to sort of be able to let people access this information?
I think the wider we can get them disseminated, the better, really. And they were developed by school children to represent their view, but I think their messages are universal, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of places of worship, that'll I know we've got groups within this network that are sort of religious groups. So yeah, and I'm sure they have connections with places of worship that would be able to potentially use these posters. Yeah, so that's something we're looking to, because as Ian was saying, we want to get these. Make sure these can be as useful as possible for as many different people within the community as possible.
I was just thinking of Southampton Council of Faith as a kind of a network we could work through to be able to pass this sort of information on to all the different places in the city.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, it's that kind of organisation that might have the links needed to get them used as widely as we can. So yeah, there's I think the scope to use the network itself to outreach to those different groups.
Okay, well let's move on to just talk about and maybe start the thinking about National Hate Crime Week, but it's not too far in the future. It's the 10th to the 17th of October, which is actually 8 days rather than a week. Certain Beatles song seems to be relevant there. So yeah, we talked earlier about maybe thinking about how we might start to raise awareness on Brexit specific messages. And obviously we talked about, maybe Dave suggested maybe the Cedar School posters could be displayed. But I don't know, Sam, whether you want to introduce this subject, whether you've had some thoughts around what we do on National Hate Crime Week already.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, for National Hate Crime Week, we've been thinking of a few ideas, albeit there's been things that sort of come up, so we haven't had time to think about it, as much as we'd like so far. But now we'll be definitely, looking ahead towards it. So yeah, a few of the things basic things I've been thinking of are certainly with the retail package that we've got, the timing of when that's going to be kind of available to businesses, because I know businesses of this business crime partnership who are being used to promote the package, they're not kind of starting up on their work again until kind of this month. So middle of sort of October will be a good time to then hopefully maybe present what we're doing through that to the local media, albeit communication. That communication I'm going to kind of start with now to kind of see whether we can potentially get a story on that done. But nevertheless, awareness will be raised on that kind of thing during Hate Crime Week. So obviously, with what's going on, with people being less active in going to places and things like that, that might will make our work. We'll have to think differently about what we do in Hate Crime Week this year, but certainly things, there's certainly things that we can do. I mean, as I was saying about the case studies and things, if it might be, people might be hard pressed to get anything before Hate Crime Week, but if we can, then that's something we can potentially give to local media as well. I did want to do kind of work on with the schools, the young people package that we're creating as well, and with the posters, did kind of want to have the media doing a story. Unfortunately, the Cedar School themselves and are got sort of a lot of things to figure out as they get, as their school starts up again. So again, that might be hard pressed to get something in place for then. But certainly with the posters that we've got, with what Dave said about potentially, getting them used and stuff, that might be, we might be able to do things to promote what we've done with the posters. Again, I have got connections with a local radio station, Voice FM, that I used last year to kind of promote what we've been doing for the network, and I did that. Obviously, I did that a year ago in National Hate Crime Week 2019. So there could be a potential to update, do an update through that. But yeah, I mean, they're just initial ideas I've got at the moment. I kind of wanted to use this time as an opportunity for members, if they did have any ideas or work, or have any work that they're doing that would be useful, hate crime work particularly, that would be useful to promote during this week. I mean, maybe it's something people can have a think about, but obviously it is around the corner, so it'd be good if we can to have a think and hear from some people in this meeting. So I don't know if anyone wants to come forward with anything. No. Yeah. Sorry, Ian, you've got your mic on mute again.
No, it's a mistake for me to ever mute myself. So Dave says about using mainstream media outlets, you know, because Voice FM is good. We've used Solent in the past, so normally friendly towards this kind of message around the week, but using you know, local radio stations and Daily Echo was very good. A couple of National Hate Crime Weeks a couple of years ago on National Hate Crime Week, so we could certainly look at those as well. I think Sam maybe will reshare amongst the two of us just how we got that really good response from media outlets a couple of years ago when we did the Love Don't Hate messaging.
Yeah.
And figure out what our main you know, what our main messages are this time, because clearly we want to talk about the Brexit issue and try and maybe be able to launch some messaging around that. We've obviously got the posters now that we can talk about, and hopefully we'll get some case studies, which the media are always looking for case studies, and particularly people prepared to talk about their own experiences. Any suggestions to add to that? And if we are doing, sorry, Dave.
I had to wave twice there, but I got you in.
Apologies.
I'm just thinking that, you know, some of the numbers that we've been hearing about, maybe some of those case studies, if they can be sufficiently anonymised, could be of interest. I think as the COVID and Brexit are adding to the rich mixture, I think, you know, I could well see programmes like South Today or Meridian News perhaps taking an interest in this if we could present them to them, and perhaps what I was suggesting in the chat there was that some of us larger organisations with contacts there might be to sort of perhaps sound out a few people and sort of like, so we could package something to sort of get this, draw this to people's attention. I mean, I certainly felt, going back to the Chinese situation, that was a really good example of mobilisation of media where it did get a lot of coverage. I think it went, I might even have got national coverage for the work that happened in Southampton. And as a result of the Chinese Association, helped by yourselves to sort of like react. I think the university was involved in that as well. So just a thought. And the other thing I wanted to mention here is anything you do want to do, great opportunity to give it a free plug at your 7-minute presentation to council next week. So that would be an opportunity to get it out there, even if it's not fully worked up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I know that the success we had when Ian was talking about a couple of years ago in the Hate Crime Week to get the local media involved, part of that reason was because we had like large bodies behind us giving it that backing, and sometimes you need with the media to really, you know, push through what you want them to talk about. And so yeah, maybe I can liaise with you, and I know we've got other statutory organisations involved like the OPCC, and perhaps yeah, to try and get the media involved. Because essentially that's the best way we can get the messages out there. But yeah, yeah, no, that'll be a good opportunity.
Sorry, may I just jump in here? I'm not butting in anybody, am I?
No.
No. It's just in relation as well to the comment about the Tuva group as well here. Is it's kind of linked to what we were talking about with the Hate Crime Week coming up, and obviously, you know, there'd usually be events happening, schools would be hosting things, there'd be more, you know, be stalls out in shopping centres and those kind of things that obviously we can't do at the moment. So it's really about, I suppose, just keeping as visual and vocal as we can in the restraints we have. One of the things that we're looking at that I would really like to start motion before Hate Crime Week is we'd quite like to get some ambassadors from various community groups to actually work directly with myself and other people in our engagement team here to actually inform us of how communication can improve, as well as accessibility to services. Although, of course, we're victim support, we're victim care service, we overarch many services within Southampton and Hampshire, and we work very closely and we're very knowledgeable of what's available for anybody that might reach out to us. So someone could phone up and we should be knowledgeable of what could be the right support for them, even if it isn't us. So if anybody can think, or just keep it in mind and pass around your networks if you like, it'd be really appreciated that if you can think of anybody that would like to be a part of this and work with us as a volunteer, as a ambassador for us, I'd be really interested to, you know, go further with that. It can be that that ambassador could tell exactly what it is that that community might need from us. It might be leaflets or posters in different languages. It might be that invitations to, you know, different faith groups, you know, at certain times or weeks, or etc. It could be a number of things, but we are really keen on building those links up. And I think at the moment, when we can't be as visible in the public, so to speak, that's even more important. So I'd really appreciate if people can keep that in mind. I'm hoping to get something more together that I can send out exactly what we mean by this ambassador role, volunteer role. But still, if anybody has any questions before I get to that point of sending anything out, I'd be really interested in what you could, you know, if you have any questions or suggestions on what that might look like, please do let me know. And thank you, Maximilian. I'll take your email now. So thanks, and please do let me know if you think of any suggestions. Please do forward them over.
Thank you, Tori, and that's certainly once you get the as you say, the message out more fully, then Sam can circulate that around the whole network to try and get you some results from that. Abdul has said on chat that he's wondering what plans there are to involve local community groups, and that too they can be in touch with African Black groups. But he did say Fort Malkeet might be a good link with other groups. I think. And I agree with all that. I think National Hate Crime Week is for us all, and I think Sam and the network can help to provide some materials and if you like, the overarching materials. But I'm sure we would be keen to know what individual organisations are doing, and you know, helping to promote their work and working with them at the same time. So I'm very keen that we don't get the message out that somehow we're coordinating everything and everything comes from the top. I think the network works best trying to coordinate and bringing a focus to what member organisations are doing with their own community groups and to their own constituencies, and setting up focus groups, as Zachary says, I think is a very good example of what we could all be doing during National Hate Crime Week, just to ramp up the ante around the awareness messaging that we'll want to get out.
Yeah, just to add briefly to that, I mean, yeah, I wasn't going to mention too much of it today's meeting, but I think it might be useful to, as I have set up now for the whole network, yeah, a Facebook page to kind of highlight work that we're doing, and you know, to spread messages about hate crime. But that could be a really useful tool for us to use during National Hate Crime Week, especially if there are projects and programs that perhaps might not be delivering now, but as Tori was saying, programs that you might be organising or at least having an intention to deliver, and then I can spread messages about that on social media as well. As obviously obviously can't be as active within the actual community, but there's a potential, there's lots of other things we can do. So yeah, if you do have any sort of projects that you feel should be awareness raised about, then do let me know, and I can make sure that those are promoted, especially during the Hate Crime Week.
Thank you. And going back to the Dave's thing about Brexit looming, and no doubt will become a focus once again in the national politic. Do you have any suggestions, anybody, as to what kind of what kind of promotion or what kind of awareness messages we could start to put out that would have a Brexit relevance?
Yes. Excuse me to interrupt. I've been sitting a bit with the hand up. So I looked on the marketing strategy plan, which I have for next month, and I saw that on the 29th of October, it's Internet Day. So if we have hate crime 1 week before, and because we cannot deliver the messages very well out, considering the actual situation, maybe all of the organization involved, so all of us who are part of the hate crime network, we could use social media to advertise these messages related to hate crime. Of course, we can do it in different languages if you want, if it's something of interest, because hate crime at the end doesn't happen only once per week, only 1 week per year or month. So as much as we put the message out there, as much as we raise awareness, and as well, we might have a better impact.
Totally agree with you.
It's just an idea.
Yeah, I think that the more we can do to keep this messaging out clearly, from a media sense, the National Hate Crime Awareness Week provides an easier opportunity for media organisations. We should certainly be doing the most we can throughout the year to keep awareness and particular messages in the public domain.
Okay. I was thinking, as I said, maybe we can have it the entire month, but of course, better how you organize it. So
yeah. Well, I think the jury's open. I think I'm open to ideas, suggestions, people doing things and coordinating it, through the network. I think that would be really helpful.
Perfect. I will send you then some of my ideas if that is all right by email, so we can have them.
Please.
Yeah, if you can send those to me, Elena, that'll be.
I will.
We'll try and think about those ideas. Yeah, certainly.
Abdui is saying, is there any chance we can develop hate crime art park for children in the community? This target youth groups, children's groups, disability groups, and community groups. We could be interested to invest in the northern community. Do you want to talk a bit more about that, Abdui? I suspect you can't because of his circumstances. And finally, on the Hate Crime Week stuff, I don't know that some of the bigger organisations that are members of the network, whether there's any ability for those people to put forward their media departments to help us with getting visibility around National Hate Crime Week. I'd certainly think we'd be very interested to work. Again, 2 years ago, we had the CCG was particularly instrumental in getting us access and expertise around that. So if there was any members that are able to help with, with people who've got their expertise within their organisations, I think Sam would be very interested to hear from them.
Yeah, definitely. any support that we can get from, other groups. And I guess the more groups that we have to express why it would be useful to have local media reporting on what we're doing, then that's going to definitely be useful.
Great. Well, let's move on then. So Sam, the next item is planning the network's future, the coordinator's role. Do you want to talk a little bit about the deputation you've got with Ahmed next week? Anything else you had on this subject?
Yeah, sure. The next part I was going to talk about, generally it's about sort of what the kind of future kind of holds for the network and things like that. But I think it'd be important, just to explain to everyone kind of the situation with the network at the moment, that you may not be aware, but that there is, certain funding that we've got available for the network and my particular role as the coordinator, and that does actually funding for that runs out the end of this year. So what we've been busy doing is kind of working with various statutory organisations to start with, to see how we can make sure that we have long-term sort of security for the network. Now, kind of thinking about the coordinator role, but obviously, the general resources and funding is kind of what we need. But so we've been invited by the Southampton City Council to come to have a deputation at their full meeting on the next Wednesday, and that'll be an opportunity to deliver a short sort of presentation, kind of to basically promote what we've been doing as a network and what we've achieved, and why essentially why it's important for us to have the funding to allow us to continue further, to make sure the work that we're doing doesn't isn't halted in any way, because obviously what we've started, we are still only in the early stages, but it would be a shame now to have to stop or not be as effective as we were, as we have been in tackling hate crime. So that'll be a good opportunity to express to those that can hopefully give us the financial support why it's so crucial to continue. And obviously I'll update people on how that goes and things. But I mean, this does sort of bring me on to the next section while I'm here. Now, I know that we're obviously, it's statutory organisations that we obviously need the support from, and obviously it's important with their resources to have them on board, and also because if they're on board, they're in line with the way that we're thinking about things as well, which is important. But that we obviously there are obviously other sources, and I know we're looking external to the network, but it'd be good for within the network to think about the resources and potential funding that we can give to support the ongoing continuation of the network. So I think as we're in the process of kind of looking for more funding now, I think it might be a good idea for network members specifically to have a little think about what resources and what funding they might be able to offer to support things further. If we kind of to keep it going, we we'll need to have, everyone needs to kind of have a think about it together, just so we can think about all the different avenues, and the more, obviously the more support that we can get, the more we'll be able to achieve in the long term, because it's good what we've started so far, but there's a lot of other things that we want to and then need to do really to need to tackle hate crime even further. But I mean, yeah, so I just wanted to explain to everyone kind of what the situation was and what we're kind of doing about it at the moment. So yeah, I know Malkat, yeah, that you know you've got a question that other people might, but yeah, you can mention. Yeah.
I just had a suggestion, perhaps, that the role of this network is going to be so important as we leave the EU, and what you've achieved up to now has been such a lifeline to a lot of communities through all the different networks that are part of this. And I do hope you do secure enough funding, because I think it's going to be very challenging for a lot of the authorities to be able to work through some of the issues that Brexit is going to create. So, I mean, I wish you well, and hopefully, you know, things will work out.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, and I think yeah, part of what we're doing is kind of, you know, express to people that yeah, that it's worked so far, and you know, with the issues that highlighted, that you know, Brexit and things that are out there at the moment, and you know, it's a crucial time that for it to, well, it needs to be there anyway, but you know, it's more important than ever that it does exist to support people. So yeah, don't know if there's any questions.
And you'll see that Dave's just shared the link to be able to watch if you want to tune in to the next full council meeting, the deputation that Sam and Ahmed will be making. So we'll put that out as well to anybody who's not here today. So thank you, Dave, for that. Any other comments on the future?
Hello, Ian.
Hi, Abdui.
I'd say a few things.
Yes, please.
But if earlier on, my daughter was with me, was making a lot of noise. I was just going to say regarding the future first, before I go into the topic that I was trying to discuss. Regarding the future, do we have any? I know there is some funding for Crime Commissioner Community Safety project. And I believe this hate crime is more to do with community safety. Even though our focus is based more on education, awareness creation, but it's actually to prevent crimes happening, things like that happening. Is there any relationship, is there any possibility that we speak to the Police Crime Commission and see whether there can be potential funding opportunities for us?
And
that is the first.
Yeah, thank you. We are looking at that as well. So OPCC and they're currently funding the current work that's going on. So we're hoping they'll continue that, certainly. After we, so carry on. And I'll feed in other people's comments at the end. So carry on after we.
Yes. Okay. The other thing is, earlier on I was suggesting about hate crime art park for children. Currently, we are working at Northern. We are working closely with the Hampshire Gallery, and we able to develop with them. We able to develop some art park for children in the community, especially in the BMA community, to tell their stories about the lockdown and their fears, aspirations, and what they will hope to see in the future. So I find that very interesting and triggering. And now that we are working towards Brexit, I think communities might have certain fears in them, and maybe children may be exposed to certain things that we are not aware, because they have their own stories and not a lot of adults listen to their stories. So I think Art Park will give them the opportunity to express how they feel about Brexit, about all the things that are coming in the future, and what are the things that could be done about it. I think that Art Park, if we are able to develop any materials, I think they will be able to capture their imaginations and some of the things that we can do to help. So that's what I wanted to say. And if that is going to happen, if we know the content, the exact content of the materials, or we have someone that can develop that for us, West Kitchen Community Trust, we will be able to fund the materials that are going to go to Northern. We'll be ready to do that. I don't know of other areas, but for Northern, children in Northern will be able to fund the materials. So I'm just trying to see whether there is any possibility for that happening.
I don't see any reason why not. I'm just writing that down to remind me later on. I don't see any reason why it couldn't. Is the art park project already going to happen? Is that something that's already underway then, after we?
The one that we are doing now is it's more to do with lockdown, and it's already, the art pack has been developed already and distributed to children, and we are doing evaluation of it, gradual evaluation of it. But what could potentially happen if you can liaise with Ansat Gallery so that they can show you how they went about it, especially developing the materials, and what is it that is relevant that we can capture in the community regarding Brexit and hate crime. I think that would be very useful. If you want, I can send you the contact details and then you can get in touch with them.
Yes, please. That would be very helpful. I think that would certainly shortcut the whole process. Thank you. Thank you, Abdui. And the other comments we had was, so we could go to community chest. I think if I remember right, the community chest is for quite small amounts of money, not to undermine that, but we can certainly look at that. OPCC, we're certainly going to be looking at as we currently part funded by them. So both of those options we should explore.
Just to finish, this part about the future, I just wanted to also just mention, obviously that's about what we're trying to do, about with continuing the network, but just sort of update on the growth that what we're trying to do to grow the network and cover more areas so that more groups are represented and we have essentially more even greater diversity within the network. So we have had more people sort of joining or showing an interest in joining our group. So obviously we've had Elena from the Romanian Advisory Centre Southampton, so that's obviously covering that section of the community. And then we have also we're hoping to get Solent Mind, the Solent Mind charity on board, as obviously at the moment I'm aware that we don't specifically have any groups who represents people with mental health issues, so that will obviously help to bring diversity with that to the network. And then we're also trying to get the trade union group Unison also on board with the network. So we realise obviously we can support them, but we think that that they might be a useful avenue to help us with resources and things in the future as well. So that'll be useful. And then obviously we've got these connections with retail organisations. So eventually, when we've got this package up and running, we might then be able to think about how specific businesses that we're working with can then join in with the network and they might be able to offer us support. We haven't been able to reach before in terms of that they might have capabilities of helping us to really raise awareness in certain areas. So I mean it's obviously it's just slow progress in terms of has been in terms of getting members on board, but we're starting now to see that there are a variety of groups quite interested in what we're doing, which I think is quite encouraging. At the end of the day, we want to be as diverse and represent as many groups as possible. So we're working hard to try and make sure that is happening.
That's very useful, certainly illuminating. I think Sam, to help me understand these opportunities and work that's in the offing for us to do. I think that's really illuminating. Thank you. And Jason's given us the link to Community Chest, so thank you for that, Jason. Appreciate it. I'll copy that to get it. Sam and I will talk about it after the meeting. That's really useful. Okay, well, let's move on to the next item, item 11, which is opportunities for member groups to talk a little bit about what they are doing. This time we've had Southampton Youth Offending Service, Linda, asking to talk. So I'll pass the hand the baton over to you, Linda, and look forward to hearing from you.
So thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's just my computer sometimes doesn't do sound very well. So yeah, so just a brief about what we do. So Southampton Youth Offending Service, we work with children from the age of 10 up to the age of 17 across the central area, so SI 14 to 19. So, and we work with young people who commit offences, but we also, primarily in my role as one of the restorative justice officers, work with the victims of those offences. And we've also just worked with Sam to become another third-party hate crime reporting centre. The only unfortunate thing at the moment, we're not actually back in our office, so it's something we're trying to work on for sort of a future date. So really, sort of our role is to work with young people, reflect on their actions, and to think about the sort of, you know, the effect they've had on people, particularly with any offence, and including hate crime of all sort of types and situations. Additionally to our work with the Youth Offending Service, and Councillor Shields reminded me as well, and I was going to mention it, I've had a link also with the Heartstone project, and I don't know how many people are aware of the Heartstone project. I'm going to show you. So the Heartstone project is funded by the Police and Crime Commissioner. And what it was a project that was set up a few years ago that was to allow schools, a number of schools in the city, to work with their children in years 5, 6 and 7 with a focus clearly on hate crime. And the way this was done was the project leader, a lady called Sita Kumani, came down and presented her project to a number of schools in the area and had some training projects and materials for them to take away, and for them to work through a story, which is called the Heartstone Project, which really sort of brings home sort of hate crime and the impact it has. And the story is told through a mouse. So it's quite sort of that sort of child friends way of talking mouse and friendships and things. There are some quite challenging bits in that book, and what the project does, it invites sort of teachers and mentors to sort of work with young people in 5, 6 and 7 to sort of really think about how it feels. So it's very much how it feels when somebody says that. They do bring up the words that, you know, we don't like to mention in the book, and the parents and families are advised that that may come up in conversations, and, you know, if they don't wish their children to be involved, that's fine. Some schools have taken this on, have been doing this for a little while now. Other schools are still right at the very beginning. And Sam, when you were saying about, you know, your work with schools and the plan to sort of put that back to January, I have been trying to contact the schools with regard to working with a Heartstone and then to get back involved with that. And I think, you know, I'm hearing what you're saying. It is one of those things. I was hoping to get a meeting with them sort of in the next 6 weeks or so, because the project, Heartstone project itself, has actually got a little bit more funding where they're going to go for more digital stuff so that schools can engage in this in a far more digital way. We see to producing some story frameworks as well. And it's just an addition to what we do in youth offending. It's an additional thing that sort of I've been involved with, but it is very much the schools taking on and sort of giving those key messages out and allowing children to also challenge their peers, challenge, you know, adults about the comments that people make and the things that they do that causes distress to everybody else in the community. So, you know, so alongside the Heartstone, there is obviously our youth offending work. So we're very much that sort of reflection, taking responsibility for actions and challenging it. And one of my sort of plans this year within the Youth Offending Service is to create some sort of hate crime sort of awareness work, hopefully when we can get back into maybe a more usual situation with some of the young people within groups, and create some sort of pack around awareness of that, and to really ask them about, you know, what message they would give about the impact of hate crime in the community, and sort of possibly a peer-to-peer thing. So that's what I'm trying to work with at the moment, as well as delivering our usual sort of youth offending work. If anybody's got any questions, I can try and answer them.
That's very interesting, Linda. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Linda on that, or anything else that the Youth Offending Service does? I think you've supplied everything they needed, Linda, and thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to have a quick excerpt? We've got a few minutes to spare, unless there's a lot of AOB. Does anybody have anything within their organisations that they want to just raise awareness of now?
I could bring up one thing. It's less of a raising awareness and more of a, if anyone from any of the other groups is interested in giving a talk to our members about what it is they do in their groups, I'm always looking for more guest speakers. So just like take a moment that you offered to plug that. If anyone's interested in getting involved, give me a shout.
Yeah, thank you. I think that would be useful for us as well. Thank you. Linda, Tori has asked how many schools are so far involved in the Heartstone project?
So yeah, so at the moment we've got, there were the project packs that came out in, there were 10 schools. There was the opportunity, the funding was for 10 schools. So we have, I think at the moment we have 7. It doesn't sound a lot in the amount of, when we've got so many schools in the city. What I'm hoping is, my aim is that once projects, I know that sort of Fremantle school sort of a bit more ahead than some other schools, so once they get going, I'm hoping that maybe we can share resources and things with them. So there's about 7. So we've got primary and secondary schools who are involved, but they're all at sort of slightly different ways along that moment. Some are in the initial planning stages, some are sort of have done this for a year or so and are starting back. And the aim is, actually, what I forgot to say is, the aim of the Heartstone project is that if you technically started it now in the autumn term, the aim would be working towards some celebration project that would celebrate diversity, and do like some sort of few short community projects. And there are various around the country, where in Manchester they've had like a procession. There was even some schools in the London area that went into the Houses of Parliament to do what they'd done on sort of hate crime and what they did in their project. So it is a national thing, but I just think we just need to get sort of a bit more going with it this year where we can, in light of all the current circumstances.
That would be fabulous, and I think and the more we can do of that, the better. I think it is about celebrating who we are and being proud of who we are. I think that in its own right has a big message around hate crime that we should focus more energy on. So yeah, I'll be very interested in how that develops. Let's move on. Is there any other business from anybody? Does anybody have any other business? Malky.
Okay, just ask a quick question. Good that the network has grown, and Sam's done a lot of work around that, especially with schools and some of the different communities that could benefit from sort of this sort of information. I just wanted to ask, do we get regular feedback from member groups? So, for example, MCS, do they give us some feedback about how many numbers they've had reported to them around hate crime? Or with we spoke about Brexit, and Claire and the EU Welcome Project are part of this network. It'd be useful to get some information from there, what they are picking up, for us to understand how serious hate crime is, and what the different strands are, where within the city is happening, be able to bring up a bigger picture, and that way be able to sort of inject resources in that area to be able to support people. Do we get that, or is it worth just asking that question once again?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I had actually got, yeah, obviously Clear, yeah, the Clear EU Welcome, yeah, are part of the project group, are part of the network, and that's, yeah, obviously, if we're looking at, raising awareness about Brexit and things, that I think they could well have resources or, information to help us. So yeah, I'll certainly, I think, get in touch with them to see what their thoughts are. I know you mentioned another group. I'm sorry, I didn't know who you were referring to there.
EU Welcome is part of the part of Clare, and EU Welcome work with the Eastern European communities, and Clare do a lot of work with the refugee and asylum seeker communities.
Oh, no.
And I mentioned MCS, the Muslim Council of Southampton.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry, yeah, no, that makes sense, yeah.
I know Carving is part of this network. They must pick up a lot of information, and you know, it'd be useful to get numbers, some of these strands that, so I think it'd be just useful for us to understand and work out the bigger picture, where what's happening, which communities are affected, and to support and channel resources to try to support people in that area.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously those two groups have experience in that area, so it'd be wise to use anything information they do have. No, definitely look into that.
Yeah, and I think we'll put out something after this meeting, a number of issues we'll put out, but certainly asking member groups to bring us up to speed with, you know, particularly the numbers side of what they might be doing around hate crime, I think will be really, really useful to us, particularly as we go into Hate Crime Awareness Week. Any other business?
Wondered if I might take a moment just to talk a bit more about the COVID community champions, if possible.
Please do, yes.
Thank you. So as mentioned, I'm Community Engagement Officer from Stronger Communities at the Council, and I've recently been appointed to help head up the COVID Community Champions. The idea of the champion is that anyone can become one, so anyone who's a resident in Southampton or who works in Southampton, they might want to sign up as a champion for their own benefit, or they might want to sign up to receive the knowledge to then share within their communities or organisations. The information will be shared via briefings, bulletins, weekly newsletters, and we've also got an inbox where we can answer questions. We work alongside public health to make sure that information that's shared is the most up-to-date, relevant, correct information. And we're also going to establish a frequently asked questions section on the council's website so that we can direct people. So if you've got lots of community organisations who are looking to run similar activities or anything, we can direct them to those frequently asked questions. And I was just thinking about how I could probably link the champions to your network. So firstly, it would be whether any of you want to become a champion. I can share the link, and also if you can then promote it beyond with your networks, but also thinking about Hate Crime Week and this specific targeted hate crime around COVID. I wonder if that's something that I can then work to promote within our weekly newsletter and the bulletin to raise awareness to champions and kind of support champions about how they might be able to feel more confident to not necessarily intervene around hate crime, but I don't know, you know, kind of just be more aware of it and the type of hate crime people are facing. I don't know if I could work with anyone in particular around that, about sharing those messages in the bulletin, or...
I think that would be really useful, Sally. Certainly liaise with Sam directly, and then we can make sure we can get your news about what you're doing across to our members and see if the members want to engage in that, and you know, some useful stuff around Hate Crime Week. I'm sure we can work together on that as well. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. Any other business? I feel like an auctioneer here. I think I'm sensing now. So with that, we'll. I've got a message from Jason, becoming COVID-19 community champion, support the communities in. So he's shared the link, I think. So I'll again copy that, and we'll put that out to members after this meeting. So thank you very much, Jason. Just copy that before I lose it. Right. Okay, well, it only falls on me to thank you for being here today. It's been a busy meeting. I've got a date of the next network meeting, which is Thursday the 10th of December. Sounds horribly in the future, but of course it isn't. From 2 till 4. So if that's not in your diary, an opportunity for it to be in your diary. And thank you very much for being here today. I very appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, I'll just echo those thoughts as well. Yeah, thank you to everyone. It's yeah, it's always useful to have a good number of people attending and contributing, which is definitely what we definitely had today. So yeah, appreciate it as well. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, and goodbye, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weeks.
Right. Yeah. Take care, everybody. Thank you. Yeah. Hi. I wasn't sure if you wanted to stay on, and I know you.
I guess, reflecting, and I've took a few notes as I've gone ahead. Initially, it was just some ideas I had between you and me.
Yeah.
But I've also been collecting the various comments, particularly those that we might do. So I'll pull that. I don't know if I'll do it today, but I'll pull that together in an email and get it over to you.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can talk about it. I'm very conscious. It kind of highlights to me how close National Hate Crime Week is.
Yeah. It's pretty close. Yeah.
So we need to be realistic about what's realistic, and do what we can. But I guess maybe in the deputation we do next week, it'll help us to focus on what our 2 or 3 messages are that we might want to get out as part of the awareness week, that we might be able to attract media interest in. It's a shame now to move on the app. I know that was our original idea, was to flag up the further developments of the app.
Yeah, that's what I'd hoped. Yeah.
So it may well be that our activities are relatively minor this year compared to the last 2 or 3 years, and that's fair enough. But see, I'll once I send all this information to you, let's see what's possible, and certainly we won't be able to get the youth offending service to help us out a lot in the way that it was youth offending service, wasn't it? And Sally's contribution to help us along the way. Are you okay?
Yeah, no, fine. Yeah, it seemed
good day today. Thank you very much for your work on that. Really, really useful.
Yeah, no,
I think as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure we're spending a lot of time on the sort of, and have to spend quite a bit of time on the thinking about the future and stuff. But I realise it's quite a big, quite important. So
so it's difficult. I know in a lot of projects you tend to I sometimes half joke, you spend the first 3 months getting it going and the last 3 months either letting it go or trying to find continuation funding, and that means the actual work is only in the middle of the project, because and that's the way it is, really, isn't it? But we've got some promising funding noises coming out of Southampton, which I think are promising. Hopefully next week will help to reinforce and in a way help to commit them towards supporting what we do, we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I think it's really useful to have a contribution at the next week's meeting. I think that could really help in them to a lot of people to actually see what's happening. So hopefully
it will go really well. I'm sure it'll go really well. You're good at getting the message across, and you'll do that very well with the councillors next week, I'm sure. So, if I have now got the link to the meeting, so if I'm free, I may well be, given we haven't got anything planned for next week, I might tune in just to have a listen. Firsthand. So if I don't speak to you again, good luck with that. I hope it goes well for you.
No, I was just going to mention, actually, I did. You obviously won't have time to look at it yet, but I have sent you the sort of business plan like draft I put together. So I mean, I know that you're off next week, and I'm actually off the week after. So I'm thinking that week, if it works for you, maybe we could have a chat about that then.
And what I'll try and do is to read it and get some initial views back to you this week before we end this week. So I'll try my best to get that to you.
Yeah, if you can.
Before Friday, end of Friday, if I can. So and see what's possible.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, are we overlapping a week before you go away, or are you then going away immediately I come back?
I'm not sure when you return. I know I'm off from the whole of the week commencing the 21st, so not next week, the week after. I don't know when you return, but
yeah, you're right. I mean, I come back on the 21st and you leave, so you know, that's absolutely fine, obviously. So if I don't speak to you before, have a good break. Make sure you have a break. I know when you're working at home, it's difficult to separate work from home, but make sure you have a break.
Yeah.
And if you need to direct, you may well on your email autoresponder, by all means direct people to me so that
yeah. Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, we did have our yeah, the supervision was planned for tomorrow afternoon, but I don't know whether it was still good for you. I mean, it can be changed if it needs to be, but
how do you feel about it? You know, is it going to be useful to you now, or when you get back from leave? I'm open-minded. I don't have any.
Yeah, to be honest, I was thinking that really now it was a bit that this meeting was actually, it's just become a little bit too soon for me after our last meeting, just because I've had a lot to actually think about, obviously with the you know, future planning and stuff. So a few priorities and stuff have gone, you know, have had to be put on hold. So yeah, it might be better if we can maybe arrange it the week when I return from my leave. If I mean, I know that'll be over the 8 weeks. So
these things happen. It's always a guide rather than a rule. You know, a rod of iron. So, did you originally set the date? If you did, can you find another date and move the diary up to suit you? You know, sometime the week you get back. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. I can. Yeah, I'll sort that out. No problem. Yeah.
That's really good. Well, that's again, if I don't speak to you personally, I'm sure we'll email. But if I don't speak to you personally, have a great break, won't you? I'm sure you
yeah.
I think you had a break.
Yeah.
I hope you find a way of enjoying it.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'll try to make sure I do. Yeah.
I'm sure. Well, take care, Sam, and
yeah,
speak with you this afternoon.
All right. See you later then. Bye.
Bye.